The Thunder get a little NBA Cup revenge in Milwaukee against the Bucks, handing the Bucks a 16-point loss on their home floor. And there seems to be a common theme between the last three Bucks losses. What is that theme? I'm going to tell you on the other side of the intro.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, Bucks Nation? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and the co-host of the Technical File podcast. I truly do appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day, even after losses like this one. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And you can also catch Locked On Bucks in the newsletter form. Make sure you head over to lockedondaily.com and start your day with the all new free Locked On Bucks newsletter. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, y'all, I'm coming to you solo. So with a solo show with me, you know I have some post-game clips that I want you all to hear from Doc Rivers, from Giannis, from Dame. But before we even get to any post-game clips, let's just start with the fact of the matter. The Bucks got outplayed by the Thunder. Plain and simple. Like, you can look at the Bucks and be like, oh, well, you know, they were on the second night of a back-to-back. So were the Thunder. So were the Thunder. You can say, oh, yeah, but the Bucks were without Bobby Portis. You know, he's a really key player to what the Bucks have going on. And I'll be the first one to admit and say, I think that Bobby Portis is even more important post-trade deadline, but not an excuse. The Thunder, they were without Lou Dort. They were without their other all-star, Jalen Williams. Two key rotational pieces out for the Thunder. There is no excuse for the Bucks. They just got outplayed in this game. Plain and simple. They got outplayed. Now, early on, it looked like it was going to be competitive, but then things changed. I thought what Doc Rivers said was really interesting about the Thunder, and just got to tip your hat to the Thunder and just how good they play defense. I want you to take a listen to what Doc Rivers said about how well the Thunder are playing on defense and how it affected the Bucks.
I just thought they were so much more physical tonight. So give them credit. I thought they played. They definitely came in with intentions tonight and played that way. We struggled, I thought, throughout the game getting into our offense. I thought they strung us out. We couldn't get open, couldn't get to our spots, and I thought that was them. I thought they played great tonight.
Do you think that was inside out with Hartenstein and Holmgren?
No, I'm talking about guard pressure. I think it was throughout all of them. I just thought, we didn't play them in one game in Oklahoma. None of our guys. This is really the first time we've played them since Vegas, and you can see that clearly was in them. So.
NBA Cup revenge, y'all. NBA Cup revenge. But no, seriously, one thing that Doc said that really stood out to me is he highlighted the ball pressure that the guards were able to put on the Bucks throughout the game. It's not the first time we've seen that. And I mentioned earlier, there's a common theme in the last three losses that the Bucks have had. Now to the Thunder, the Cavs, the Magic. Those teams were just more physical than the Bucks. But the guard pressure aspect of it, we have seen since Damian Lillard has become a Milwaukee Buck, opposing teams looking to bring full court pressure and press Dame, try to get the ball in his hands, make him have to work for it. And it's been a struggle at times for this Bucks team on how to respond to those full court traps, what to do. And I'm starting to think that an answer to that question, an answer, not the answer, but something that the Bucks can utilize a bit more going forward, is actually Kevin Porter Jr. We saw initially Kevin Porter Jr., the rotation was, he was the tag team partner for Dame. Dame would sub out, in comes Kevin Porter Jr., and when KPJ came in, you didn't see him overlap with Dame too much. But as of late, we have been seeing Dame and Kevin Porter Jr. share the court a little bit more. Shoot, we've seen Kevin Porter Jr. sharing the court a bit more with Giannis and Dame at the same time. We've seen him on the court with just Dame and no Gian, or with just Giannis and no Dame. So he's been kind of used like a bridge player a little bit, but he's also been being used, excuse me, a bit more with Dame on the court. And Dame was recently asked, I believe it was after the Pacers game, about what his favorite thing is about being able to play next to Kevin Porter Jr. And Dame said, I don't have the actual video quote for y'all on this one. You know, you gotta have to listen to me say it. But what Dame was explaining was that he likes playing off ball. Dame said, and I quote, my favorite thing about playing next to Kevin Porter Jr. is being able to play off ball. Every year of my career, I've enjoyed not having to bring the ball up. A lot of teams want to pick me up full court and try to wear me out and starting in front of the defense all the time so they execute whatever their scouting report is. So I've always loved playing with another guy that can initiate the offense. And it doesn't even need to be a play for me, but I'm just the guy that's behind the defense or on the weak side of the defense. And I can attack closeouts and be that guy that after the play is made, then I'm the guy getting a catch and shoot opportunity. You're not having to use as much energy, so you stay more fresh throughout the game, and knowing he can go and make a play, he can score, and we can be comfortable with that. Just being able to play off the ball and not be on the ball so much. So I think that's going to be a weapon for us, especially in the playoffs when I don't have to handle the ball as much, end quote. I think there's something to that. I think there's something to that, being able to have another guy on the court who can help initiate the offense. Now, I don't think that means that Kevin Porter Jr. should start on this team, because I do like the way he's been utilized as that bridge player. He kind of helps the gap when you can't have both Giannis and Dame on the court, but he's showing that he can be a guy who can share the court with him. One thing we need to continue to see in Kevin Porter Jr.'s growth as a player, to continue to share the court with Dame and or Giannis, is just his ability to knock down those catch and shoot threes. The catch and shoot threes. We saw him when he went off for 5 threes the other night. But like, we have to see it more consistently off the catch for him, because if he can become a catch and shoot threat, it opens up so much for this Bucks team. And in this game against the Thunder here, the first quarter was probably their best quarter, right? First quarter was their best. Like, they stalled at times early, but they had some good defensive energy. They finished the quarter on a 10-0 run. They went into the second quarter up by 2 points. At that time, it felt like, hey, the Bucks' length is bothering the Thunder. They're making things difficult for them. You saw Kuz have a nice start to the game offensively. He knocked down 2 or 3 of his first shots. You had Sims out there playing some great defense, which, got to talk about Sims, because he might need surgery. Before the game, Doc said that Sims' right thumb injury that he sustained against the Pacers is significant, and that surgery is part of the conversation right now. Sims did play tonight, but post-game, Sims said that he's still not sure what direction that he's going to go in regards to surgery or playing through it. And it reminded me a bit of like the Ryan Rollins situation, where the shoulder injury that Rollins has is a major one. It's going to require surgery, but Rollins has chosen to play through that for the rest of the season. It's a guy who had an opportunity, and he chose to play through the injury to continue to try to grasp onto the opportunity. And I think that Sims, I won't put words in his mouth, but seeing him play through it tonight, I'm sure the team will look to see how his thumb responded to going through the game tonight. But if the Bucks don't have Sims going forward, that's going to be a loss to them, because he has shown so much defensively. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Jericho Sims' post-game interview from after this game against the Thunder. It is very short. Jericho Sims is a man of very few words, right? And he might be a quiet guy off the court, but on defense, he is so he communicates all the time on defense. You see him directing traffic when he's in the action, and we know how versatile he can be with how he can move his feet. He provides a different type of defensive big that the Bucks don't have. If you take that option off the table, it changes things. Like, again, Sims isn't somebody who I think is going to get 20, 25 minutes a night. But in his 10, 15 minutes, that he does play, he can be very effective as the change of pace guy. So hopefully the injury news for him doesn't prove to be too severe. And that is something that he can't play through. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on as we continue to go throughout the rest of this regular season. I feel like the turning point of this game came in the second quarter here because, again, the first quarter was clean for the Bucks. Also, no turnovers clean for the Bucks at that. But we'll talk a bit more about the turning point in the game that came in the second quarter because, man, once it came, it just seemed like everything started to go wrong for the Bucks. So we'll talk more about that after this. You know what the deal is, NBA fans, because you got to get ready. Because if they swoosh, you save. And thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in the game, you can score a huge deal the very next day. It's very simple. When any player scores at least 50 points during the rest of this NBA regular season, Dash Pass members can get 50% off of an order up to $10 the next day between noon and midnight. So someone drops 50 the next day, noon, as soon as noon hits, you get you a lunch. As long as it's before midnight, get a late night snack, whatever it might be. Between noon and midnight, Dash Pass members can get 50% off of an order up to $10. So make sure that you sign up for Dash Pass if you have not yet already and be ready to save. Because again, if any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off of an order the next day, up to that $10 off. So just use that promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. And make sure you head over to DoorDash to learn more. You want to talk about more basketball. It's that time of the year, y'all. It's March Madness. And when it's March Madness time, you already know what that means. You need to head over to FanDuel because FanDuel is going to give you the chance to get in on the action like never, ever before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening almost every single day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is easy to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around, and that's my favorite part. I need my money and I need it now. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. I mentioned the turning point in this game, right? It came in the second quarter because in the first quarter, things were looking all right. No turnovers for them. And let me just say this as well. The Bucks have to continue to clean up the turnovers on offense. Prior to the trade deadline, the Bucks offense was 7th in turnover percentage, which is the percentage of the team's possessions that end in a turnover. Since the All-Star break, the Bucks have been 16th. So they have to clean that up. Cannot turn the ball over. Have to take care of it. But second quarter, right? Boy, oh boy. Bucks are in the game. And then the Thunder started to turn the pressure up on the Bucks defensively. Just turning it up. Held the Bucks to 15 points in the second quarter. 15. And with that being said, the Bucks didn't even score for the last 4 minutes and 42 seconds of the second quarter. So all those 15 points came in the first 8 minutes or so of the second quarter. Like Giannis had scored a bucket. It was 46-41 at that point, and the Thunder were up. And after that, the Bucks could not buy a bucket. Couldn't buy one. And during that stretch, what you really saw was the Thunder kicking up their physicality. The common thread between the loss to the Thunder, the Magic, the Cavs, those teams all played more physical than the Bucks. Those are teams that like to switch on defense. Those are teams that can deploy some interesting defensive combinations that some other teams can't touch. But when you play these teams, they execute at a very, very high level. And when a defense can execute at a high level and everyone's on the string, it can be very, very hard to beat that. So the question is, well, how do you tend to beat teams that play physical and that switch a lot? Dame was asked that very same question after the game, and here's what Dame had to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, usually the teams like them, that are physical and, they have a lot of success on that end of the floor. On that first initial action, they're going to always be good. They're going to be loaded up. They're going to be good on the ball. They're going to do their jobs. But this is when you kind of move them around. You know, first side, second side. You got to give a defense like this an opportunity to break down. And usually it's not going to happen on the first side. And we just tried to hit them directly, you know, on that first side too many times tonight. And that's where they thrive at.
Got to make it difficult for him. Got to make it difficult for him. When you're playing against a defense that is that sound and that disciplined, they're not a team that like you can, move the ball once and get them into the first rotation and they give up, or it's already busted coverage. Like they have a team of guys who know how to play on the string with one another. They rotate, they cover for each other, and it's hard to break down. You have to get them into a third and a fourth action. And if you're going to ISO heavier, you're just dribbling too much and you're not moving the ball, you're not putting pressure on the rim, it's easy to defend. And when you watch the Thunder consistently get those second, third, fourth defensive rotations right, it's pretty basketball. I can't even hate on it. It's pretty basketball. And it makes me think of some of the blown defensive coverages from the Bucks. But Dame mentioned the fact that you can't just attack that first action head on, which again, the ISO, you have to move the ball. You got to get them in rotation. Another way to do that is by playing downhill. And that's something that Giannis highlighted as a way that you can beat these types of defenses. So check out what Giannis had to say about playing against these switch-heavy physical defenses.
Yeah, you just got to set good pick and rolls, create separation. The guy that has the ball got to be decisive, got to try to get downhill, try to make something happen. If you just keep on dribbling, and the clock just going to keep winding down and there's nothing, they're just going to clock the paint. There's nowhere you can go. So you're going to take a bad shot or you go and turn the ball over. So you just got to keep on moving the ball, set some ghost screens. If you don't have nothing, swing it so the other guy can attack because they're loaded so much. But you got to go downhill against a team like that. If you don't go downhill against a team like that to create something, and when I mean something, it's either on top of or it's either open three. You got to keep on creating something because if you don't, they're going to look great on the defensive end and we're going to look bad on the offensive end.
You ain't wrong about that. So, I mean, when you can put that pressure on the rim, which is why Giannis is so important, when Dame is able to get off the dribble and attack the rim, how much opens up for other players because they're using that gravity. Kevin Porter Jr. is another player on this Bucks team who can touch paint consistently. I know folks don't want to hear about Pat Connaughton, but when he was playing, one thing that Pat did very well was touch paint. And when you're able to do that, you can shift defenses. But again, with the Thunder being as sound as they are, sometimes that first shift isn't going to be enough. So what do you do after that, outside of that? Like, here's the problem. And we've heard it with the Bucks throughout the year when the ball sticks, right? But when you're playing against switch-heavy defenses, it might just come down to a point where you're going to have to beat your man one-on-one. Like, you just got to beat him. And that's what it is. Now, I will say that at times with this Bucks team, you can see the lead for the other team starts to grow and you see more guys falling into that ISO ball habit. But for somebody like Dame and Giannis, superstars, top 75 players who know their greatness, finding that balance of like, I know I need to move the ball and also I need to attack, or I think I can get a bucket here. It's a very, very delicate balance between the two. Dame was asked about this after the game as well, about how do you find that right balance between playmaking and scoring, which is on the shoulders of Dame and Giannis. Dame more in particular, but like, it's a really interesting question. Here's what Dame had to say about it.
It can be tough sometimes because obviously they're switching because they want to take you out of your actions and you don't want to fall into just playing one-on-one all night. But for me personally, sometimes, they switch and every time I feel like I can get in the paint and, get some type of reaction from the defense, draw some help. But, then we're saying we want to move the ball. We got to have some action. So it can be a tough balance sometimes, especially when the team builds a lead and you don't want to go out there and try to take it upon yourself. You want to use that time to continue to trust. That's what the best teams do. So it's a tough balance where in your mind you're like, all right, I might have to dominate and try to take over this 4 or 5 minute stretch. And then you don't want to go against, what the team is is kind of preaching, you know, like we got to move the ball, we got to play for each other. You still have that mentality, but you know, as a great player, you want to go and get things done. So it's definitely a tough balance.
A tough balance, and the weight of finding that balance is going to lie on the shoulders of Dame and Giannis, especially with the way that this team is constructed. It's just the facts of how it's going to be. So they have a very fine line that they have to walk, and they're going to have to walk it well for the Bucks to have real success come playoff time. But it's been a lot about what the Bucks have done wrong in this game against the Thunder. The physicality, you know, just the offense stalling, getting pressure, not being able to handle the pressure, not knocking down shots. Like, the Thunder played good defense, and when the Bucks even got open looks, they just didn't fall. It was a poor shooting night for the squad. So did they do anything well? We're going to talk about that coming up next. They did a little something well, so we'll talk about that after this. I know that I cannot be the only person who has ever checked their bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Like, between dining out, shopping online, video games, for me personally, sporting events, it's really easy to lose track of where all the money went. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app either. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you can stop just managing your money and you can actually start to build wealth. So instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA, and you'll get half off of your first year. Want to thank you so much for spending your time here on Locked On Bucks. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you spending it here tuning in to Locked On Bucks. A special shout out to all the everydayers who tune in Monday through Friday. And I got to put y'all on some game real quick. I got to tell you about the bracket breakdown from the Locked On Network.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown. Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup. Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free. It's your team every day.
So make sure y'all check out the bracket breakdown. Now, I'm not a big college basketball fan. I'm a Marquette alum, so I'm always cheering for Marquette. I have a root interest in Marquette. I'm going to be watching them in the tournament, but I'm definitely going to make sure I check out the bracket breakdown and keep me up to date on everything else happening this March Madness. But let's talk about the Bucks. That's what we're here for, right? The Bucks. What did they do well, if anything? I think a lot of things went wrong for the Bucks in this game. I don't think many guys had great games in this one. Giannis had triple-double. Shout out to Giannis, triple-double, 7th of the season for him. But one thing I'll give the Bucks some credit for in this game was just their defense on SGA, and SGA alone, because we saw Hartenstein have a career day, career high 24 points for him. But when you're playing against great players, they're going to get theirs. They're going to get there. So all you can try to do is make it as difficult as possible for that player. And I thought the Bucks did a pretty good job of that. Like, we just saw SGA drop 48 on the Pistons on Saturday night, the day before he came to Milwaukee. He did that on 26 shot attempts. 48 points on 26 shot attempts. The Bucks, SGA got his. He got his 31. That's about what he normally gets. But it came on 27 field goal attempts. You live with that. Like, he's been shooting 55, 56% from the field so far this month of March. He shot 41% against the Bucks. You take that. I want to give the Bucks some credit on that because it was a group effort. You saw Kuz, who started on them. We saw Kevin Porter Jr. get some run. We saw Taurean Prince. We saw AJ Green. We saw Gary Trent Jr. He started cooking a little bit in the third. But again, overall, they made life difficult for SGA. And that's all that you can really ask for. Giannis was asked a bit about the Bucks defense and just what he saw from the night. Here's what Giannis had to say about the Bucks defense.
To start the game was good. At times I think we can rebound the ball better. We were forcing them to take a lot of tough twos. And in a team like this, how many threes they made? In the first?
10 and 29.
Yeah, you know, like, and I think most of the threes they made in the second half, right? Yeah. So a team like that, you know, they won't score in the paint. You know, they won't score in the paint. You got to be very, very disciplined, protect your paint. You know, make sure show crowd and, as I said, crowd the paint. And when they shoot the ball, try to get the rebound. We didn't do that. They was able to score a lot of points in the paint. And then when we tried to protect the paint in the second half, I think they got some threes too.
Yeah. The Thunder killed the Bucks in the paint. They had 60 points in the paint to the Bucks 36. You can look at people, you know, they always say SGA is the free throw merchant. The Bucks were able to make more free throws than what the Thunder attempted in this game. And the Thunder only made 10 threes. The Bucks made 13. But when you look at like the 2-point shots and just overall shooting from the field, the Thunder shot 52% from the field against the Bucks. The Bucks shot about 40% from the field against the Thunder. So when you look at like the rebound numbers, the Bucks were killed on the boards. The Thunder had 50 rebounds in this game. The Bucks had 34. Part of that comes from the defensive rebounds alone, where the Thunder had 42 and the Bucks had 25. But, you know, when your team, the Bucks, when they go 33 and 83 from the field, meaning, you know, you missed 50 shots, it's going to be a lot of opportunities for the other team to grab some boards. So that explains those numbers a little bit. But again, overall, the Bucks were outmatched physically. They didn't do enough. The offense got stagnant. They weren't able to create enough against a really, really stout defense. But now that's over. That's in the rearview window. You try to learn from it and go forward, but what's in front of you is even bigger right now. And that's how it's going to be, I feel like, as the season continues to wind down, with the standings shaking out, getting more clarity there. And for the Bucks, they have a 5-game road trip over 10 days. 5 games, 10 days. It starts with the Warriors on Tuesday, the Lakers on Thursday, the Kings on Saturday, the Suns on Monday, and then the Nuggets on Wednesday. We have been talking about this upcoming road trip on Locked On Bucks for a bit. I'd venture a guess that when me and Justin talk for the Tuesday show, it will be a more in-depth look at this upcoming road trip because it is very important for this Bucks team. The Bucks are 14 and 17 on the road this season. Amongst the teams, top 6 in the East, it's the worst. The Pacers now, they're, I think, 16 and 19, so they're right around the same win percentage on the road as the Bucks. But even like the Pistons have a better road record than the Bucks do this season. It's a very big road trip coming up for this team. I think we're going to learn a lot about them. And Dame was asked about his thoughts on this road trip, and he shared a lot of them same characteristics and same thoughts that I had about why this is an important trip for this Bucks team.
Yeah, I think it's coming at the perfect time. You know, like you said, it's a big trip. You know, we got to handle our business, but I think it's a huge opportunity for us too. You know, coming down the stretch of the season, getting ready for the playoffs. You know, I think it's something that we need. You know, we got to go out here against good teams. It's a long trip, and you know, it's going to tell us a lot about where we are. You know, coming down this closing stretch, so our minds got to be there. We got to take care of our bodies, and we got to, you know, understand what we're going into. And it's, like I said, it's going to tell us a lot about where we are.
It is going to tell a lot about who this Bucks team is, and I could not agree more. I mentioned it before. Like, when we get to this part of the schedule, when we get to competition, when we get to the big games, I get up for those because I want to see where the Bucks stack up. They didn't pass the test against the Thunder here tonight, but the good thing about the NBA regular season and with how many games they have in it, your next opportunity is coming up, and they have an opportunity on this upcoming road trip, not to even just try to bounce back, so to speak, from that Thunder's loss, but just set a new precedent about who this team can be on the road going forward. You're heading into the playoffs. There are only so many games left. Who are you? How do you respond? very much looking forward to seeing how this team plays, especially against that slate of competition they have. The Warriors have been on fire since they traded for Jimmy Butler. The Lakers got Luka. We just saw them, but will LeBron be back? We don't know at that point. The Kings been kind of going down a little bit here, but it's going to be a tough game. The Suns, woo boy, Mike Budenholzer got his hands full over there, but you can never count out KD. You can't count out Book. You got to pay him respect. And then you go and see the Nuggets to end the road trip. You know about the altitude in Denver. We know how tough Jokic is. So it ain't going to be an easy trip, but it's going to be one that's worthwhile because it's going to teach us a lot about where this Bucks team currently sits. Now, with this being a West Coast road trip week here on Locked On Bucks, got to tell y'all some scheduling news about the show. So there will be live shows the morning after the Warriors game and after the Thunder or the Lakers game. So the Wednesday morning, make sure you head over to Locked On Bucks Live on YouTube. Come join the live. And on Friday, we'll be live to talk Lakers. The Tuesday and the Thursday show should be released at their normal time. So you should get that, late Monday night, late Wednesday night. But after the game, for those post-game shows, there also going to be live episodes recorded on the YouTube, probably around 8:30 a.m. Central Time, somewhere around there. So if you're not yet subscribed to our YouTube, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and do that. Hit that bell so you get notified when we go live, and you can come join, be part of the show as well. So that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Bucks. We'll be back with some more Milwaukee Bucks content coming your way throughout the rest of the week. So make sure that you stay locked in to Locked On Bucks.